Hey guys, Jared here. I just wanted to give some thoughts on Monster Hunter World. I'm new to the franchise and new to the series. If you've listened to our podcast, you've probably heard me talk about this, but I'm really enjoying my time with the game. Currently, I'm about 50 hours in. But don't worry about in this video. I'm not showing any spoiler armor. I'm not showing anything that would be considered a spoiler. I went and put all of my starter gear on. And have a starter weapon. Like I'm not trying to spoil anything for you guys. I just kind of want to go through my impressions of the game from somebody who's new to the franchise. I want to touch on some things. In no way is this really a review. I'm not going that comprehensive in detail, but I just wanted to get my feelings out there of my impressions of the game, because I've talked about it in the podcast, and I just thought that it'd be nice to make a standalone video talking about my impressions from somebody who's new to the series. And like I said, in no way am I an expert in Monster Hunter. I may say some things that sound outlandish to somebody who's a fan of the series, or things that are quite obvious for those who have continued playing it through all the handheld versions and such. But let's just hop into it, and I would like to give my perspective on the matter. So I want to start off just with some general thoughts of Monster Hunter. For the most part, going in, I figured it would be a grindy game, and from what I heard, the combat was very obtuse, and there were some things that were very Japanese in design that, as somebody who more so favors Western developed games, though I do love From Software, I do have some hangups with the way some Japanese developed games are made in their systems and their UI and stuff like that. But I mean, though Monster Hunter can be convoluted at times, Monster Hunter World seems to have fixed a lot of that for general audiences. There's still a lot of stuff there that's a little overbearing and such, but for somebody who's never played the series, I was able to pick up a lot of things, and I'm having a blast with it. There's a lot of little secrets and stuff you learn about from the community, from watching videos from Gaijin Hunter and stuff that I didn't know about. For instance, Poogie. Poogie is this cute little pig that hangs out in Astera, which I'll get to Astera in a second, which is the main hub of the game. Poogie is this little cute little pig character you can get costumes for, and you can find costumes, and there's a whole pet mechanic. There's this whole community idea that he provides luck to you if you pet him every time before you go out on a quest or an expedition, and it's just a really cute little pet. You can carry him around to find items for you within Astera, and the costumes that you find for him are really cute, and you can customize him. And that's a long-standing tradition to the Monster Hunter games, from what I've learned, is Poogie, this little pig that just hangs out, and you get to pet him and stuff, which is really cool. It's very anime to me, and I really like that touch because I didn't even know about him. I didn't really even notice him. I noticed a pig walking around the market. I just didn't assume you could interact with him, so that was really cool finding out about that. Let's talk about Astera in general. So Astera is the main hub of the game. It's where the trade market is. It's where the armory is. It's where the canteen is. The main base of operations for you here when you first start at Monster Hunter World. And I think it's a beautiful city. Or I wouldn't really call it a city. I guess it's more of an outpost. It's not that big. Like I said, it's not a huge place to explore, but I do think it's very detailed. Though there aren't a whole lot of areas you can get to, there's a lot of design and detail in the backgrounds of it that make you feel at home. I really appreciate in any game where you have your own base of operations, like being able to sit down and have your own little room to yourself. As the story goes on, your room gets upgraded, and you can actually display all the little creatures and stuff throughout the ecology of the different places in Monster Hunter World in your own room to show off what you've caught, the rare creatures or not so rare creatures that you just find are cute or weird or odd. And that's really cool. I really like personalizing your own space. Other parts of, I guess, Astera we can go into, the armory, figuring out how to craft armor and those kind of things. There was some confusing bits of like, do I use my armor spheres now? Do I not? Do I save them for high rank? Do I use them for low rank? That kind of got a little bit getting used to, but I really do love the way the armor and the upgrade system is laid out. There's some more niche things that I need to get familiar with that are very Monster Hunter, like the decorations and stuff like that, and balancing out your armor. But the way it's laid out, I think, is very, very awesome, very cool. You can obviously preview armor sets and figure out what matches and what doesn't if you're going for Fashion Hunter or effectiveness in armor, which is really cool. Crafting, I think the crafting system is pretty intuitive. From what I've heard and read, it's a bit different from previous Monster Hunters. And this one is very simple. I don't think it's obtuse by any means. You simply go into the crafting menu, and whatever item you pick, if you don't have one of the items to create it, you can create it. So say you need a mega potion, which is, and I might be getting this wrong, it's an urban, or it's a potion and something else. It could be a potion and a blue mushroom or something. That could be wrong. Let's just say, for instance, for this example, that's the case. If I have the blue mushroom but I don't have the potion, in that same system you can click the potion, it'll go backwards, create the potion, come back, and then you can create the mega potion. I think that's really intuitive and really awesome. So crafting, find it very simple. The cutscenes for the palicos, I was going to call them cats, when they're making you food at the cantina is really cool. Those upgrade as you go through the story. You get cooler looking food and bigger, beautiful, more delicious looking food presented to you. Where do I begin? I don't want this video to be too long, so I'm trying to stick around the 10-minute mark, just because I don't want to be going on and on and on. I just want to give some brief impressions. One thing I will say is a huge negative to this game, but I kind of just put it in the back of my mind and said, oh, it is what it is the voice acting and lip sync is atrocious. It's probably the worst I've seen in a game in a long time. Personally, I play with Japanese dialogue and English subtitles just because that disconnect there allows me to be okay with the lips being out of sync. If it was just English, I couldn't imagine having to deal with that, because I've seen it. I started that way and it was just very weird and strange and off-putting. So having the Japanese dialogue and the English subtitles has really helped, and but it's very bad. And I think that's one thing that if they make a sequel or whatever the next Monster Hunter is on consoles, the way they did Monster Hunter World, I hope that they address that issue, because as great as this game is, it's a big misstep there, and it seems like it's very bad. They could possibly fix it in a patch. We'll see. Let's get into the main part of Monster Hunter, though, the hunting. This is something that attracted me to this game, and I've actually been interested in Monster Hunter ever since it was first announced way back in, like, I think 2002. It means I was around 11 or 12. And the idea of going out into a game and hunting monsters and gathering their stuff and making stuff out of it is a cool concept to any kid. Like, hunting monsters is awesome, right? But I never got around to them. I heard they were obtuse. They never really seemed inviting, and it seems like they found a very dedicated, hardcore audience, but it never really seemed to appeal to the general audience. And Monster Hunter World seems like that game that's like, no, we're releasing this on a console. It's a bigger, fleshed out Monster Hunter game, and we want people to dive in. And for me, the hunting is great. I personally use an insect glaive and a switch axe. I switch between the two. It was recommended that I do the dual blades, but that seemed a little too easy and spammy to me personally. I more so like the aerial assault of the insect glaive and the obtuse nature of the switch axe, having to switch between the blunt axe and the sharper sword. I really enjoy the training room where you get to figure out what weapons feel best for you, the long swords, the charge blades, that kind of stuff. I want to dabble in charge blades, but I'm kind of hesitant because those are like the veteran level weapons, it seems like. But yeah, hunting animals, taking them down, mounting them. That's another reason I love the insect glaive, especially with the glider mantle, is you're able to mount these creatures, and it's a lot of skill based. I guess it's partially QTE because you spam Y and then you hold right trigger, obviously, to brace yourself. But I really do love just getting on the back of a creature and having it struggle and taking it down. And some people have some issues with that. They feel like, oh, these animals are so cute and stuff, and we're just hunting them. But there's a lot of purpose to the point of hunting monsters in Monster Hunter. They give a lot of context there, which is really cool. I love the variation in difficulty. Some people have argued that the game is a little too easy. I don't really find it that way. I'm using the insect glaive and the switch axe, like I said, and some enemies have definitely been a lot more difficult than others. Like Legiana, and I'm going to be pronouncing some of these names wrong, guys, it's just the way it is. Legiana seemed pretty easy to me, and Anjanath too, and I've seen people that have had issues with them, whereas Diablos was a nightmare for me with my insect glaive. I actually ended up having to just draw out that battle and just poke him with my Kinsect over and over again. That's something, I mean, that's a whole other video talking about how awesome the insect glaive is, giving you aerial combat, and the Kinsect to be able to give you buffs depending on what you hit with the Kinsect, the attack, the movement speed, all of that stuff. It's really cool. It's really creative too. It's not something I've seen in another game as far as combat goes, for me personally, in my experiences. I've talked about the weapons. The monster variety is cool, though there are some, it seems like, reskins. Obviously they have different movesets and abilities, but there's a lot of these big Komodo dragon-esque enemies that look familiar. Like the Jaguar doesn't look too far off from the Ogdoboron. I'm getting that name wrong. The big red lizard from the Rotten Vale. Autogoron. It's something like that. I know I'm getting it wrong though. Sorry about that. There are some reskins, but their abilities and what they do is different enough that it doesn't really feel like a rehashing. And like I said, the monster variety is awesome. There's the one that you run into in the Rotten Vale that I think is super cool. I can't remember his name, but he's the black creature with the white armor encasing him, and he rolls around. There's so many different varieties of monsters, and there's so many different varieties of little creatures as well, and the whole ecology of the game is beautiful. Like, these zones aren't necessarily very huge, but they're layered. They're more vertical than they are expansive in width and area, but they do have a lot of verticality to them from what I've seen, and they have a lot of variation. There's the small creatures that you can dismantle for parts, like the Kelby for their horns and such. There's even smaller creatures you can only catch with the net, which is really cool. There's fish that are actually existing in the bodies of water that you have to capture with a fishing rod, and you have to aim precisely and stuff like that. And I think it's so great the way they built out the ecology in this game. Though the world isn't expansive, these zones aren't huge, they're brimming with life and interest and just a bunch of really cool, interesting things going on. So I think what they lack in size, they make up for in density. And expeditions are great. They allow you to not have to focus on a quest and just gather materials and hunt stuff to your own leisure. The replayability and variety in this game is something I didn't expect, and I'm having a blast. Like I said, I'm 50 plus hours in. I can't see myself stopping anytime soon. I want to create armors. I want to play the arena with friends. I want to do a bunch of stuff. I haven't even finished the main quest line yet. I'm pretty close. I don't want to say where I am because of spoilers. But man, this game has really got its hooks in me, and I'm a Monster Hunter fan now. I think the next time a Monster Hunter game gets announced for consoles, or even for Switch, if it's just a handheld version, I'm gonna have a piqued interest, because I feel as though I'm now a fan of this series. And though I don't have I'm veteran status, it's a game I really enjoy, and I love the systems in it. And there's stuff that with any game series you love, there's stuff you want them to change and improve on and fix. But I'm glad to say that in 2018, I've fallen in love with Monster Hunter. And I really want to thank Monster Hunter World for that. And I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. I think there's a lot of people, we've seen the sales for Capcom. And it's a beautiful thing to see so late in a game. 16 years, I believe it came out in 2002, I could be wrong about that. 16 years after a game's initial release, it's finding a whole new audience of people, because it's kind of wanted to cater to a more general audience. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. And I want to say again, I've fallen in love with Monster Hunter, and it's a beautiful thing and a beautiful way to start 2018. Thank you guys for listening to my impressions of Monster Hunter World. Catch you guys in the next one. Bye.